Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Vuyile, and on this channel we speak about business basics for beginners. On today's video, as you guys saw on the title, we are going to be talking about basics in business financials. This will include startup costs, revolving costs, cash flow, and creating a cash flow statement, business bank accounts, and taxes. Financials has probably been the one topic in business that I have been extra intentional to learn more about, because I feel like in order for something to be viewed a business over a nonprofit, you have to be making a profit. Even if it is a social enterprise, there still needs to be this profit aspect of things and makes what you're doing even more rewarding, right? So before you even get to the point of making money, you need to understand all the costs that come with starting a business. First, we'll start with the startup costs. These are expenses that come in order for you to open your business, right? So regardless what business you're making, whether it is from educational, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, you need a certain amount of money and you need a certain amount of things in order for you to get the business started, before you launch it, before anything happens. And so examples of startup costs are equipment, business registration fees, office space if you're going to need an office space, inventory, marketing, website, office furniture if you're going to be using an office, payroll, utilities, consultants, insurance, taxes, travel, shipping, licenses, and a bunch of other things that could be relevant to your particular industry. So when you are figuring out your startup costs, another really important thing to note is it a one-time cost or is it a revolving cost? For example, when it comes to certain equipment, let's say I am a photographer. In order for me to start my photography business, I need a camera. That's a one-time cost. When I buy that camera one time, I'm not having to buy it every year. I'm not having to buy it every few months, right? If I'm choosing to replace it, it's a personal choice, but in order for the business to operate, I don't need to constantly be purchasing a new camera every year. When it comes to your website, if you are a photographer, you're going to need a website. Website is a revolving cost. It's something you're going to need to pay for either monthly or yearly, whether that is the hosting fees, whether that is the domain. That is a thing that is a revolving cost. People who are starting businesses will typically put in all those startup costs within an Excel sheet, calculate roughly, it's an estimate, roughly how much money would be required to even get the business started, and then seek funding in order to get that money. So whether that is through a loan, whether that is through working for that money, it's a great place to start to know, okay, this is the amount I am working towards, or the amount I am seeking from a funder, and this is what it's going to do the moment it comes. The next thing you have to do when it comes to business financials is creating a cash flow projection. Oftentimes it's maybe 6 months, but it's usually a year. Cash flow projections of the year. What does it look like? I'm going to put it on the screen so you kind of can visualize it. So with the cash flow projection here, it's for forecasting or predicting or just making guesses, educated, informed guesses. But in business, it's called forecasting. How much are you forecasting yourself to sell? How much are you forecasting to charge for your different products or services? How much are you forecasting to spend in your expenses, in your outflow? And how much are you forecasting to be in debt or to be in overflow at the end of a month or at the end of the year? So a cash flow forecast usually has sales assumption. The sales assumption is where you input how many sales you are assuming you're going to make in your business. So you may ask yourself, how will I even know this when I haven't started? Do I have to be, a profit? How do I know what's going to happen in the future? So you use educated guesses. So in order to use an educated guess is looking at your competitors and trying through market research, finding out how much are your competitors, not necessarily the bigger competitors, but the ones ones that are closer to your level of things in the beginning, how much are they selling every month? How much are they pricing their products every month? And assuming you're going to be starting at that same level or maybe even less. Next will be the cash from sales. This is where you're going to put how much you're going to charge for the specific product or the specific service and how much of that you think you're going to sell. So then that's going to tell you how much each of those products in your assumption is going to make. Another section is the funding source. In this section, you often put how much money you are expecting to receive from funding, whether through grants, whether through loans, whether through your personal investments, whether through family members and friends giving to your business. The next section is the cash flow output. This is the area where you're going to put for the individual things you're selling or the individual services that you're providing, how much it costs you for you to produce that particular thing. The next area is the general expenses. This is usually going to be the longer part of the cash flow forecast or the cash flow documents. This is where you're going to put all your expenses. You're not going to include your startup expenses. That's a different part of the sheets. It's usually a different tab. These are your general expenses, things that you have to purchase regularly, either on a month-to-month basis, bi-monthly, maybe every 6 months, but they're not part of the startup costs. So these include like wages for your employees or for yourself, legal fees, accounting fees, websites, insurance, social media, shipping expenses, office supplies, travel expenses, etc., etc. And so if you have a good Excel sheet or document, it should be able to do all the maths and the pluses and the minuses for you. And at the bottom, it should show you whether in that month you are expected to make a profit or make a loss, how much it all ends up being at the end of each month, or an estimate of how much it'll be at the end of each month. And that would help you to start adjusting certain things, because sometimes you'll put all the facts and figures and the numbers in the higher parts of that cash flow projections documents, and at the end you'll find that there's a minus, so you are making negative, so you're losing more money than you are gaining, and that'll make you have to then readjust some of your costs, readjust some of your prices, find alternatives for certain things that maybe you're doing, or maybe wait a couple months before you start doing certain things. For example, like with an owner's wage or hiring an employee, maybe it may be something that you can then move to like a later month where you are or would be making or generating a higher amount of profits that fits those expenses. And so it's a really great document so that you don't have to figure all that stuff out when you've already started the business and then you realize, oh my gosh, we're making a loss. It's something you can start preparing for and projecting way before the business even launches, just with some research, just with some finding, and just with some estimates. Another thing I'd like to point out about business financials is that always open a separate business bank account for your business. Whether your business is tiny, whether your business is large, ensure you separate all your business expenses, all your business financing, everything concerning your business's financials to a different bank account. This will help you so much, just for purposes of not making mistakes, for purposes of remaining accountable, for purposes of tax season, right? It's so important to ensure that you have a separate bank account for your business. Remember, new videos every Monday and every Thursday. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.